None of these issues are anything new. I know we can get 90 odd goals, we can score from corners, but at the end of the season, guys, the majority of these attackers will have decent goal scoring seasons. But when it's push comes to shove, it is really only Bukayo Saka, really and truly, that's going to do the business. I'm watching the same thing on repeat. Like, it would be romantic Kai Havertz being the striker, and he's pulled his weight a lot more than these attackers. But you've had two windows that you failed to take advantage of. I think it's a thing where Arteta's got to hold that. I feel great sympathy, ironically, for the players and obviously fans. But Mikel Arteta, the Cronkies, whoever is in charge on the technical front, I'm not really here with the he say, she say. You lot all in charge. You tell us about collaboration. And for me, too many chefs are spoiling the dish. We've got no sporting director. You found 40 million to bid for Watkins, whether it's true or not. You could have found a project player. If we was a prime Barcelona and them size, Jess, I would hear it. But no one can tell me in a day and age where, as talented as Ethan is, he, excluding Saka, is the one young player young attacker that we've got faith in. You can defo improve. It's excuses. And for me, people fall for this PR bullshit, if I'm honest, far too often.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's the technical side of things of Mikel and why he quite literally cannot break down a mid block or a low block. This has been a problem for multiple seasons. So anytime we see one, we struggle. You also have teams or managers in particular that always get the better of you. You'd think you'd be able to figure that out by now. Eddie Howe is one of them. Unai is also one of them, where we always struggle with those teams. And it's like,
I think his is personal to Arsenal. Big up Emre, man.
Yeah, it's like, so there's that part, and then there's the board. And the board is very risk adverse. They're not football people. They are money men. And they only, if Aston Villa gives you an opportunity to sign Ollie Watkins and they say at 60 million and you come back with 40, and now they're doing up, well, if we had done 60, that would hit the budget for the summer because now we can't sell Gabriel Jesus and all this. And I'm just like, when are we going to make decisions based on what needs to go on the pitch and not the bottom line number? Everything is about the bottom line number. And I know that we have to be sustainable, but Arsenal is spoken about mostly as a business, not as a team that's going to win anything. And until they get into more talent equals more trophies and stop thinking that they can rob Peter to pay Tom or whatever, and just kind of like barely make it. Because that's essentially what happens is if they can find a academy player that they can pin all their hopes on, they won't, support that young player with more talent. They will bank everything on that young player. And that's what we did with Saka. And that's probably what we'll end up doing with Wanyeri. Because they're like, well, this keeps us from having to buy. This should never keep you from having to buy. City have young players coming through all the time. Other teams have young players coming through. That does not stop them from recruiting more talent, but it does stop us from recruiting talent. And it's just, I'm not like the attack that I'm looking at right now is the alarm bells are insane. Arsenal have never had an attack this bad ever in my life. Have never had an attack this bad that lacks quality, dynamism, moments, technical quality, clinical finishing, creativity, everything. It lacks absolutely everything.
And square pegs in round holes, just, man.
Yeah, and we went 18 months without doing anything about it.
The striker is nothing new. It not all the issues that we face and we're talking about on this live streaming today. They were there last season. They were there in the summer, which is why I was pessimistic on trophies. I would think we'd have to just stumble across it. I don't think those above Mikel Arteta really want to win silverware. I do think Arteta wants new signings and wants to win trophies. It's more how you're going about it. But when I see what we've done, I'm being told in many ways, especially with January, for me, it's just top four. If you can do something above that, for me, the remit is top four. Anything beyond that is great, is all fun and games. I wanna get your opinion on this comment. Big up yourself, Jay. He said stinking up the place, but if Saka's fit changes the whole narrative. What do you think of that? Because for me, obviously, if Saka is there, we feel a lot better. But there's been times we've pulled off results without Bukayo, and there's been times where maybe not to that standard, but we felt this similar way with Saka. I mean, that is football, in my opinion. Players are going to be missing. We haven't put our best foot forward across all aspects of this team. But where are you at with that?
I'm pretty sure we lost the game away from home to Newcastle last season with Saka on the pitch. I'm pretty sure we've lost games against Aston Villa with Saka on the pitch. Saka's not enough. We had questions about the attack when Saka was there. Because here's the reality: is Saka for me is a creative player. He's not. He's pushing himself to become the guy, but realistically, I think most of us deep down, if we had the option of making Saka the guy or buying somebody that's already that person and putting them together with Saka, we would do that because he is a creator that is also being forced to score more goals because no one else does.
You reckon
Saka,
Saka's a career?
yeah, I think Saka's more creative. I don't think he's a natural goal scorer. Never have.
It's a bit harsh in the last few years of Bukayo, but I hear that. I hear
No,
that.
but I feel
Go
like
on.
what people will hear is that he's not a good goal scorer. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a natural goal scorer. He has built himself and developed that thing. Like he's developed those goal scoring tendencies, but
Fair.
realistically, I don't think like he's somebody that you'd want to be like, this is going to be my Salah. I don't
He's
think.
23. We shouldn't be doing that, really.
Yeah,
Like, and it's like what you said earlier. Like, it's a case of marrying people, like marrying the quality. Like, obviously, Salah is Salah, and he's made the difference for Liverpool. But it's not just Salah. You've historically had a Firmino, you've had Mane, you've had other players who have chipped in, and it goes back to what you're saying about us pinning our hopes. Where are you at with this? We got to let the owners be owners. They got to where they are, being who they are. They can't change for Arsenal. Let's see the season out and go game by game. 2025-26 is going to be mad. Really, I just want to get your thoughts on that last bit
yeah.
because it does feel like it's always next season we're building something.
Like honestly, Jalen, I
Big up,
hear
Jado.
you. I think that this is right out of the Cronky Arsenal playbook of Kool-Aid. Like it really is. Like
Copium.
next season, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. The briefs are already coming out about war chests and stuff like that.
Bearing in
Owners,
mind, they said this year is the year and the gloves are off for everyone connected to the club. But
yeah, the owners are the owners, whatever. Like I get the idea that they're smarter than us and they understand more. But as fans, I think when we're not winning trophies, you can pretty much say that they're failing. That's as simple as it is. We're not winning, they're failing. Whether we know the nuts and bolts of what's happening. So yeah, they're failing right now. I don't know what to
it
tell you.
clearly is. It clearly is failure. And what annoys me is, yeah, I don't know about anyone else's fault, but because I'm not happy with us necessarily winning trophies, with it looking like a missed opportunity, I personally think we engineer our own downfalls and we're the master of our own fate as to why we're here. Three
Mhm.
times I've heard Mikel Arteta in June, in January, in December say we've got one of the smallest squads. And he's played a part in that. In the build up to the City game, he said we came into this season competing for 4 trophies with 19 players and 3 or 4 long-term injuries. You add in the fact that in the last 2 years, the Sakas, the Rices, those that play for club and country in the majority of games are playing 50, 60, maybe even 70 games a season. We set ourselves up for failure. And even when you look at the summer, I genuinely feel you could argue that if we won the league last year, maybe Nico Williams says, forget Bilbao and Barca, I'll sign for Arsenal. Sesko might say, do you know what? I hear you're saying Kai Havertz is first choice. I will join us. But I genuinely feel if they won the league last year, I think we have the exact same summer. Respectfully to all those summer signings, especially Calafiori, because I like him, none of you, even with our squad barely fit, are pushing anyone or really bringing anything. So it's like you look at the summer, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Like, and I think the club is gaslighting a lot of us, really and truly.
Yeah, they are. They know what to say right after. They know that there's a large section of the fan base that live and die by what these talking heads say. And as long as they're saying something positive, they're okay. And there'll always be next season and all this. And to a certain extent, there is always next season. And there's always an opportunity to change, but we know the manager's not going to change, and we know the board's not going to change, and we know the owners aren't going to change. And I think that's where the dark cloud starts to come in. It's like, yeah, things could change, but will they?
I mean, if nothing changes, nothing changes. We'll get into all the transfer news. But if I see a striker, if I see a left winger, if I see a long-term partner for Declan Rice, if I see more depth added, or maybe naturally Martinelli, Trossard, and Kai Havertz become squad players, that doesn't mean you don't get football. I might look at things differently. I do think Arteta has to soldier some blame. It's not just a Kroenke's thing. Kroenkes are not the reason that we didn't win the league. I know I don't like how they manage the club, own the club. I want them to be a bit more proactive, but I'm not against this self-sustaining model and all of their principles. It's more like what you said. There's a lack of footballing men. And to be fair, just the Kroenke monkeys could sit there and say, since we've taken in 2018, we spent a lot more money. We backed this manager when we gave him the job. We gave him a new contract. We give him goalkeeper and left back galore. It's not our fault he chose to sign Moreno. It's not our fault he put significant funds on Calafiori, just being devil's advocate. And that's why I think it's a mixture of things. I really think, in hindsight, too many chefs in the kitchen spoiled the pot. And whatever people say about us looking for these special players and this and that and the third, if you rock up with Raheem Sterling on deadline day, you've done something wrong. And what I would ask this club, especially because Arteta says maximize the markets, if you genuinely can look fans in the eyes in January that's just gone and in the summer and say we did all we can, fair enough. I think that's a lie, or it's incompetence, negligence, stupidity, or everything. How much of this is to blame with Arteta, though? Because purely from a sporting front, he's been given a lot. It's a team in his image. Eddie Howe's been to more finals than him. Arne Slot is going to win some sort of silverware or multiple pieces of silverware. It's another missed opportunity, because I do think Arsenal fans, you can't praise Mikel Arteta or hold him to high standards and then ask questions. We mentioned Saka. Saka's obviously a good player. If he has a good game, we're going to sing it to the rooftops. If he plays shit, we're going to ask questions. I don't think that's afforded to the manager. But where are you at?
I think with Mikel, like, he's a good coach, but not a great manager, and not an elite coach either. I think he's built a squad that's very, because he's built the squad. Let's be honest. Like, a lot
Rightly
of
or wrongly, he has.
are his players. You know, these are his decisions. You know, whatever. So I think he's built a squad in his image. You know, where everything is the fine margins and trying to be innovative. You know, and you know, doing a lot with a little kind of thing. You know, because that's kind of like his vibe, but he's not at the point where he's desperate to get something in the door that's gonna push us over the line. It's just,
Because he's not judged by silverware, like
no,
specifically the Prem and the champs. He's not clearly not
he's
judged by
not.
that.
Yeah, this team is very much so Mikel Arteta. Good, but not great. You know, good, but not elite, not winners, you know, very much so, you know, coached well, but doesn't have, like, one of the things that really scares me about this team is that they can't get emotionally invested in games that matter. Any game that really, really matters, they always fall short on the emotional side. You know, the goals that you score, the moments where you keep that clean sheet, and those, you know, they don't have that. And Arteta's pretty much like that too. He's kind of icy. You know, he's somebody that he has emotions, but at the wrong moments. He's kind of here and there. You know, it's weird, but Mikel has to look at himself for, you know, bringing in players that don't make us better and pushing for them. You
Like
know,
who?
and like Kai. You know, he pushed for Kai, and he also pushed for Nketiah to get the new deal. And, you know, I'm sorry, there's just, when it comes to the
Have
attack,
we even replaced Eddie and Nketiah?
yeah,
And we ain't replaced the Bamian, Granit Xhaka, even Lacazette, but have we replaced the Eddie and Nketiah? Because we had
I,
two strikers and we're free with Kai. We haven't done that.
I'm not sure that Mikel knows how to build a consistent and effective attack. I think his thing is all control and the temperature being very low and us just like going about our business and stuff like that. But I think in attack, things are a lot more chaotic. Attack that's good is usually chaotic. It's usually very unpredictable. And even if it is predictable, you can't stop it. He hasn't really gotten a grasp on that. And that's pretty shocking, being here for 5 years and you haven't figured it out. And he brings in, you know, like a Kai or, you know, whatever. And I know people say like he didn't get his first choices, but he has quite a few of his first choices. Let's be honest.
The majority of them are his first choices. Fair enough, you didn't get Raya when you initially done it, but you got you got Ramsdale, then you got Raya. You got some bloody good players, man. And there's not, for me, there's no real life in our attack on a consistent basis.
No,
There's no healthy randomness. Again, you know, to be fair with you, I disagree with a slight point about the mentality, but then I agree. And what I mean by that is, I think it's an exception rather than the rule. Like how we performed against City, how we perform in the top six. You know, obviously with the whole Haaland stuff. That need like how you see Newcastle. I know they got battered against Bournemouth, but you expect that. Liverpool, you know, under Klopp they revitalized it, but before that they weren't really anything to scream and shout about. Liverpool's still been known for being difficult, for being mentality monsters. And again, I'm only saying this because if you want to be a top four team, that's cool. If you want to get to the next level, it's minimum. Like you saw with City, we saw the good and the bad. Like we was up for it. We took our punches when we had to. We scored the goals. We reacted to setbacks. Yes, I think there's an element of fatigue, but there's no excuse for the Newcastle game, which is why I feel on and off the field, we are our own best friends or worst enemies. What do you think about this? Never be scared to fail. City did it for years. Football ebbs and flows. We're on a nice upward trajectory that I'm looking forward to. We're next up and other clubs know it, hence the hate.
I mean, I think this was, if you had told me this the day after we lost the league the first year, I would say you're right. But we are 2 years on from that now. We were on an upward trajectory then. We have stagnated now. And you can say best in 2024 and da-da-da-da, but in terms of, do you feel like we're infinitely better than we were in 2022, 2023? No, you don't. We feel different, but not better. There's no clear, like anything, that says that we're better. And so that was true 2 years ago. And people are still using these same narratives to, I think, move the spotlight away from the manager and the mistakes that have been made by the club in general. We have stagnated.
Opium, man.
Yeah. And in football, everything is a season. Teams have moments and like a couple of years where they need to strike while the iron is hot, because then in the next couple of years, other people will be there. Your team will change, blah, blah, blah. And I'm scared that the sunrise is setting kind of like on that, because at some point people are going to want to leave. Other teams are going to be better, and they're closing the gap on us already. So 2 years ago, that was cute. Now you genuinely cannot feel that way watching us. I just don't. And in regards to the whole, like, being up for the City game. So we know that we have Arsenal are really good in the games. They can win all the games except for the games that matter. We win a lot of games except for the games that don't matter. The games that matter, we skip those. And that's why we're a good team, but we're not a great team. We're not elite.
What did you just say there? Can you repeat it, please? Because that is something I keep talking about. She said, in fact, I'll do it. We're a good team. We're not a great team. Just because I have criticisms of Arteta doesn't mean I can't praise the man and obviously my team. I don't really, quite frankly, care about what we're good at, because that's not what's crippling us. Take the good and make it great. Take the shit and make it good. Like, we are losing too many games on fine margins. For a team that waffles week in, week out about fine margins, we're never on the right side of it. The last time we was is probably Villa away, where we weren't quite at it. We nicked it. We got away. But there's always context. There's never context around when it matters. Winners win, losers explain. Now, I know for some Arsenal fans, they'll do this. Oh, you only want to support Arsenal when they win trophies. Since I started this YouTube journey to now, have we been illustriously glistening with trophies? No, we haven't. But this is where, again, there needs to be balance. We've got a good team. We are second. Our form is not that bad for all of the rhetoric, but we're not getting over the line. If we have years like this, when are things going to change? And also, like, if we're here next year with Mikel Arteta, what do you ask yourself, Jess? What needs to happen for you?
I just feel like we need a change, like, somewhere. I really do believe, like, sometimes you need to shake things up.